Hey there gamers, DreamcastGuy here. Today we're talking about a PlayStation leak that has just come out about an hour ago that has a lot of people kind of scratching their heads, or even more than that, a lot of people instantly seem to be a bit annoyed, which is this big button that says Crossbuy. Meaning that theoretically, according to this, maybe if you buy a game on PlayStation, it's also available on PC. Now, obviously, the way things currently work is that there are games that are being made, published, developed, funded completely by PlayStation, and eventually they come to Steam. Things like, you can buy Spider-Man on the PlayStation 5, but later on, after 6 months or a year, it ends up coming to the PC. It comes to Steam specifically. But they have been experimenting with some stuff, especially their live service stuff, going to other platforms, right? We saw this with Helldivers 2. Helldivers launched day one on PC and was absolutely massive, one of the biggest games ever that they've ever put out. And also it came to PS5 where it's also very, very big. And later they put it on Xbox. We've seen that stuff like Bungie's Marathon is obviously going to be fully cross-platform. But this button, to me, I think it signals something different. I do think that we're going to start to see more games actually launching day one, maybe on PC, even if they're single-player games. But I think it actually comes down to a secret extra option, a PlayStation launcher. Let's talk. Hi, hope you're having a great day. And if you could, please give this video a like and subscribe if you haven't already. Now, I want to quickly just point out, a lot of people seem to be kind of pissed about even the idea of this. A lot of people saying PlayStation launcher, copying Xbox. I just don't see how this works. They are not going day and date. A lot of people are basically saying, how could this actually make sense? Sony themselves has straight up said that they make tens of billions of dollars specifically because people buy the PlayStation. By getting a PS5, everything sold through the PlayStation storefront, they get a 30% cut. All the Fortnite V-Bucks behind games, like every random indie you buy, anything you play on the PlayStation, obviously Sony gets a cut even if they don't actually make it. That's the main reason that I feel like most games are not going to go day and date, is that right now, they have a money printer. I don't feel like PlayStation is really in that same effort to try and chase the Xbox trend of anything's an Xbox, right? But look at this. Here's the button. It straight up shows cross-buy, PS5 PC, cloud gaming, everything here. Now, to me, this also shows something extra. There have been leaks specifically. There's two separate leaks that have gone around a lot for the last couple of years. First up is this efficiency mode, this gamer efficiency mode. Now, this has currently been actually instigated now inside of a couple big PS5 games. It's called like low power option. Now, what this does is it's not just basically playing your games using less juice. It's also additionally, people think this is related to the upcoming PlayStation 6 Portable. There's talks that PS6 is actually going to come in two separate formats. First, you're going to have straight up just the normal PlayStation 6. More graphics, more power, probably crazy exclusives, right? But they're also going to attempt to release essentially their own version of the Nintendo Switch 2, a portable version that plays some PS6 games streaming, but will able to be play all PS5 games natively. You can install it, play it even offline fully, right? But in order to do that, they needed to have their games run more efficiently. This power save mode is apparently part of that push to be portable. But I think it's interesting that a lot of people are instantly saying Sony might be preparing this. Keep in mind, there were these discovered leaks a few years back that Sony is working on a PC launcher. Now, I think a lot of people do not like the idea of the PlayStation PC launcher, specifically because right now there are so many launchers. If you play on PC, there's like, here's the Xbox app right here. Here's my Xbox app, which I do think runs pretty dang well. I do think that there's a couple of gripes I have. I think sometimes it feels a bit unintuitive. Obviously, I like the Blizzard launcher a lot. Super, super easy peasy. But of course, the gold standard is Steam. Now, this is the thing. Steam does what PlayStation does. It does what everybody does, right? Which is that by playing stuff, by buying stuff through this, Steam gets a 30% cut. This is technically a Microsoft game. This is an Activision Blizzard game, Diablo. You can see I've got 70 hours in this. I have 700 hours in this game on PS5, but because I bought it twice, once on PS5, once on PC, they both got a cut. Even though Microsoft is getting 7% of that, 60% of this money instantly goes to Steam, even though they're not doing any work. The thought is that essentially they want that. They want to be able to have that with a PlayStation launcher. They want to have an ability to basically have their own version of Steam on consoles. They want to have basically their own version of it. So now, even if you're buying something, their games or something, you have to do it through their launcher. Now, here's the thing. The reason a lot of people don't like the idea of that is it's not just extra launchers. Right now, there are definitely way too many. There's GOG. What is that? Good old Galaxy. There's, of course, crazy stuff. There's, what's it called? Epic Games Launcher. There's tons and tons and tons of them, right? But I think a lot of people are also in the spot where, what if we start to see games not releasing on Steam? Like, they come to PC, but in order to play it cross-buy, you specifically have to play it on the PlayStation launcher. Now, the other reason a lot of people are not a fan of the PlayStation launcher specifically is that it sounds like it's going to be mandatory, right? There's already been some stuff inside the code that the weird PC version, obviously when they released Spider-Man Remastered on PC, on Steam, there was this stuff inside the code that made it look like maybe it's going to require an activation, that you have to basically be logged in. There is some stuff that already kind of does this. I have Game Pass, and when I have Game Pass, it works on the Game Pass app, or I guess I don't have Game Pass anymore because I canceled it, but you can play stuff here on the Game Pass app, but if for some reason it closed, if you were trying to play something, like there are games right here, if I connect Game Pass, I can actually play all these games up here, StarCraft, everything, right? All of this is included in Game Pass, but you basically have to register multiple apps that all talk. I've seen some people say they don't like the idea of a cross-buy PlayStation launcher because it means you're instantly going to have to basically be locked in. Even if you prefer Steam, if you like Steam, it's another launcher that requires constantly being on in the background. Look at this. I mean, evolving into an ecosystem is kind of the next logical step for these consoles. Thing is, Sony's going to somehow manage to do a better job of it despite Microsoft having all the time to make sensible decisions. This should be cool, but it's likely for the handheld like they did with the Vita, or maybe all three, which is even cooler. Well, they're specifically going with a hybrid, so it makes sense to have the same thing as Xbox, and to be fair, it is pretty great. Xbox doing things PlayStation always follows. Now, if you were not around during the PlayStation 3 era specifically, this was something that really existed mostly with the PlayStation 3. There was a device that at this point is pretty much lost to time. I feel bad that people don't remember the PlayStation Vita. I actually used to review games on the PlayStation 3 and the PlayStation Vita. That's how damn old I am. I mean, look at my face. You can tell how old I am. But there used to be some games that actually had cross-buy. If you bought it digitally, either on PS5, either on PS3 or the PlayStation Vita, you could download it in either place or both places. So you could actually play it on the go, pass your save file back and forth, progress on one or the other. There were some games where you even had to buy it separately, but it did still have cross progress. Final Fantasy X actually had a PlayStation 3 version, the remastered edition. You could play it on PlayStation 3 or PlayStation 4, but pass the save files to the PlayStation Vita version, back and forth. It worked great. It was honestly kind of cool grinding on one and passing the trophies back and forth and stuff, right? But there are some people that are instantly like, man, I remember when they included Steam codes for Portal 2 with the PlayStation 3 version because of crossplay. Literally download the game right away. I wonder if we'll have to do their own PC launcher. I'd love to be able to earn trophies on PC for third-party releases too. That would be pretty cool. I do wish I had my Vita back in the day, especially when I moved to PSP. It sucks how much expensive everything is. I think I'm in the spot here where I want to say that I think this leak is legit. Right now, I definitely think this leak is legit, but I do think that this is more a push towards getting people to be forced to get the launcher. I do think this is sort of their attempt of PlayStation sort of hard launching a PC launcher. They're going to straight up say, hey, we're not going to be putting games on Steam anymore, but if you want them, you have to play it through the PlayStation app. If that'll be successful, I'll be honest, I think it is going to go very bad. By PlayStation's own admission, Sony has actually released like sales metrics, and they've said that pretty much every game, for the most part, there have been a couple bombs, but a lot of the stuff they've been putting onto Steam, especially if it's a big AAA game, 6 months, 1 year delay or something like that, those games sell shockingly well. Ghost of Tsushima, God of War, a lot of these games are huge hits again on PC. I think if you start to tell the massive audience of Steam people, hey, you got to go to the separate launcher, most people will legitimately say no thanks. Think about the Epic Games launcher. I have a bunch of friends that are obsessed with Alan Wake. They love Alan Wake a lot. Alan Wake 2 is forever going to be only on the Epic Game Store. It will never come to Steam. They have exclusive rights forever. And I legitimately have friends that have straight up said they're just not going to buy it. They'll bootleg it. And I'm dead serious. I've heard that multiple times in real life. Friends basically saying, I'd rather not play a good game than install a bad launcher. Which, as crazy as it is, I guess I get it in a way. But how do you feel about the idea of a PlayStation launcher and this idea of cross-buy? Tell me your thoughts in the comments down below. And if you enjoyed this video, be sure to give this a like and subscribe if you haven't already, and please keep dreaming. Man, I feel like this will not work out. If it does, though, I'll be shocked.
Thanks so much for watching that video. If you want to see something else, you can always click this link to see what I put up last, or, subscribe and see what's coming up next. Also, I promise that whatever I do, it'll try not to suck.